Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is John and this is your Modern Tech Breakdown. Today I'm taking a look at a troubling report from Ars Technica that everybody's favorite hermit kingdom, North Korea, has been using a Windows zero-day exploit to infect targets with rootkits. Let's jump into it. Here we have an article from Ars Technica with the headline, Windows Zero Day was exploited by North Korea to install advanced rootkit. Let's read a few highlighted bits. A Windows zero-day vulnerability recently patched by Microsoft was exploited by hackers working on behalf of the North Korean government so they could install custom malware that's exceptionally stealthy and advanced, researchers reported Monday. The vulnerability was one of 6 zero days, meaning vulnerabilities known or actively exploited before the vendor has a patch, fixed in Microsoft's monthly update released last Tuesday. Microsoft said the vulnerability in a class known as Use After Free was located in AFD.sys, the binary file for what's known as the ancillary function driver and the kernel's entry point for the WinSock API. Microsoft warned that the zero-day could be exploited to give attackers system privileges, the maximum system rights available in Windows, and a required status for executing untrusted code. So these two paragraphs summarize what has happened. Let's talk a little bit about the details of the situation. First up, let's talk about the exploit itself and how it works. It's described as a use after free vulnerability. These occur when there's a bug in a piece of code where a pointer to an object in memory is allowed to live longer than the object being pointed to. This type of bug enables an attacker to overwrite the object in memory with whatever it would like, which opens the door for code execution or other data corruption. In this case, it would seem that there was a vulnerability in AFD.sys, which is a component of Windows that runs in the kernel and is required for accessing the network. Seems like a pretty nice place to put a vulnerability if you are a hacker. Next, let's talk about how the attackers used this exploit. According to this report, they installed a known rootkit once the system access had been granted to the exploitation of AFD.sys. Rootkits are very stealthy pieces of malware that corrupt the operating system at the kernel level. They do this so that they can hide from being detected by anti-malware software. If you remember the CrowdStrike incident from last month, you'll remember that one of the main contributing factors was that CrowdStrike's software, the Falcon sensor, runs inside the kernel. This is an example of why CrowdStrike and other anti-malware tools want to run in the kernel. They want to be able to detect if the kernel itself has been corrupted. If they ran outside the kernel, they would have no way of knowing if this had occurred. To illustrate how this works, consider the case of the Task Manager on Windows. The Task Manager application uses an API call into the kernel to ask for a list of all running processes. The kernel then responds with the list, and the application puts that on the screen for the user. A rootkit running in the kernel in this scenario could intercept that API call from the Task Manager application and could change the response that is sent back. For example, it could remove its own process name from the list of results. Now the Task Manager application can't see that the rootkit is running. So there's good news and bad news with this particular situation. The good news is that Microsoft has patched this exploit and a system update is all that's required to close the issue. The bad news is that this exploit has been in the wild for some time and has been used by attackers. So it's possible if you have a Windows machine that's been exposed to the internet that it could have been compromised with a rootkit that would make it very difficult to detect the infection. However, infection through this vulnerability is probably fairly unlikely, but the reporting does indicate that individuals in the aerospace and cryptocurrency fields were targeted. So if you fit that description, your concern level should probably be a little bit higher. But with that, I'll wrap this one up. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.